So I just wanted to come on here, and this might be a quick one, but I wanted to discuss a little bit about fear, and especially the fear of death. And what's interesting about people who have cheated death and survived is that when they came out of that situation, they usually ended up feeling invincible, meaning they no longer had that fear of death. They overcame it. And during World War II, when the Germans were blitzing the UK, and what a blitz is when they drop bombs. And the people that survived that bombing campaign, they became braver. It didn't make them more fearful. It made them have more courage. And when your opponent has more courage, that's very dangerous. The way that ancient battles are won is by making the other side feel defeated, start panicking, and then they run away. And while they're running away, and I believe that's called a rout, that's when they get slaughtered. You never run away. You fight to the death. You have courage. You face your opposition head on. In fact, the people who were watching the blitz, not actually in it and surviving it, those were the ones that had more fear. And then I was reading this book called 127 Hours. It's the story of Aaron Ralston. He's a mountaineer, but he was on a trip to Utah. And during his hike through a canyon, a boulder fell down and trapped his arm. So he was stuck there for 127 hours. I gotta do the math, but that's probably like 6 days trapped inside a canyon. Couldn't get out. Through maybe the second day, he literally recorded himself giving his final words to his family and friends. It looked like it was completely the end for him. Towards, I believe, like the fourth, fifth day, that's when he started sawing off his arm. He cut off his arm to escape the boulder and saved himself. And anybody who heard this story, you might think that he would have been more cautious and wary after that. But it was the complete opposite. He felt more invincible. He had a less fear of death. He was willing to take bigger risks with his life. So fear does have a purpose. It's that gut instinct that keeps you safe. But what we don't want to happen is letting that fear guide our decisions. We have free will. God gave us free will. And when we get that feeling where something is very scary, we can slow down, meditate on it, think about it, and then decide what we want to do. We can't just let our fears guide us. We need to use that as information to make the best decision going forward. And in the end, fear is really just an illusion. And in the two examples that I've given, I showed that when you can overcome the worst fear, the fear of death, and be in a situation where your life is on the line and you overcome it and you survive it, that makes you feel invincible. But the same goes for everything else. I remember having to give a speech for my friend's wedding, and I hate public speaking. I can do it, but I don't enjoy it. And I worried about it for weeks. It was scary up to the point I actually was up there in front of hundreds of people, and about 10 seconds in, it was great. I loved it. I was making jokes, telling interesting stories, and by the end of that speech, I actually felt like I was ready to give another one. And now that I understand that fear a lot of times with nefarious people is used to control and manipulate you, I work on fear every single day. And the best way that I was able to resolve fear was to pray to God. That's big. It's hard to do a lot of these things, a lot of self-improvement when you don't have God in your life. When you look at one of the most effective organization in curing addiction, it's Alcoholics Anonymous. And if you've ever read the 12 steps, most of it is about God. So if an organization, a worldwide organization like Alcoholics Anonymous, can cure people and it was using God, that's the key. That's the first step, is to have God in your life and pray to God and ask God to give you strength to overcome your fear. But a second thing that I've started doing this year is meditation. Meditation is powerful, especially mindful meditation. It's actually about having control over your thoughts and feelings, and in a weird way, saying that those thoughts and feelings, a lot of them, aren't me. It isn't from the true self. And these three things, having God, praying to God, meditation, has raised up my self awareness and my self control. And I still get scared, guys. I'm still human. But I've been able to not dwell on those fears. Which brings me to my last point. How many things out there are we just not doing because of fear? If you ever felt that there was a higher purpose, but you're just not doing it because of whatever you have going on in your life, I wonder if that's why a lot of people feel unfulfilled. And I was watching this story on YouTube about a guy who was an Imagineer at Disney. And he was responsible for carving out those wooden signs. If you've ever seen those wooden signs or wooden sculptures at Disneyland, they're works of art. His level and mastery on wood carving is mind-blowing. And he was just talking about his story. When he got into wood carving, he was just asked by a friend to make a sign. And at that point, he didn't even own any of the tools. He just took the chance. He seemed like the kind of person that wasn't afraid to try things out. And what he said, one of the things that I loved about his interview and his story was that mistakes is how we learn. But we've been ingrained by institutional education that failure is not good, that you shouldn't make mistakes. You should be perfect. And that's not real life. In real life, you learn through failure. You learn by making mistakes. So many people out there, and including myself, I'm not going to say I'm above it, but including myself, I'm afraid, and a lot of us are afraid to take a chance because we don't want to make a mistake. It's not even a life or death situation. It's not like we're stuck in a rock. A lot of times, the worst that can happen if you take a chance and you fail is that maybe you wasted some days. Wasted some time in your life. Maybe you might have wasted a year, but you're still alive. As long as you have an able body, you can always recover. Failure is not something we should be afraid of. Failure is a way to learn. And now this guy who never even thought about having a career in wood carving is now one of the most sought after wood carver in the world. He does seminars and classes just sell out. It's so inspiring. So stop having that fear of failure. Stop even having the fear of death. You're going to have them, but it's up to us to realize it, analyze it, and overcome it. And before I go, I want to give a quote from this book. And it's not quoting the author. The author's quoting ghosts. He had to make a decision. Do I stick around working at Intel, working as an engineer, or do I follow my dreams of having adventures and being a mountaineer? And he wrote down this one quote. Whatever you can do or dream, you can begin it. Boldness has genius, power, and magic in it. So I don't know who needed to hear this, but if you're feeling afraid to just take a chance with your life, do something greater, live a purpose-filled life, a life that God intended you to do in this world, then just remember, failure is not something to be afraid of. And if you believe in yourself, great things can happen.